Hello everyone, welcome back to Create This Book. Before we begin, I just wanted to apologize for not uploading. My camera battery died, so I had to wait for one in the mail for several weeks, and yeah, it sucked. Anyway, we're just gonna jump right into it. The first prompt is create a fabric page. Attach a piece of fabric or bits of fabric to this page. So immediately, I thought I would make a cute little fabric scrap quilt on this page, but you will see that it did not go as planned. But nothing I do ever does. I just went through my fabric and I wanted to do a seasonal quilt, but again, it didn't go as planned because pretty much the only seasonal fabric I had was Halloween. So I make a Halloween quilt. So I'm just cutting them all into squares that are nowhere close to even, and then eventually I struggle to create a layout. When I realized that trying to make a layout was a waste of time, I decided to just go for it and glue them down with Mod Podge and see where it took me. Honestly, this wasn't as enjoyable as I thought it would be, but that could most likely be due to the fact that it didn't meet the vision I had for it. Again, they were cut out all sloppily and they overlapped, but not even in a nice, tasteful way. So, this one was a bit of a letdown, but at least I have cute fabric to use for it. So this is the first half of it all. I wasn't going to put as much work into the second half because I knew it probably wouldn't end up looking good either, and I didn't really know what theme to use, so I went through my fabrics and discovered that I had a lot of geeky stuff, so I just went with the geek theme. I have this Harry Potter fabric I bought that I thought was neat with all the house crests on it. I am a Ravenclaw. Please comment your house down below. And cue the extreme lighting change. I'm sorry I'm so bad about that. It was dark out, so I couldn't use natural light, but I think I've said it before that I think artificial lighting looks better anyway. Unfortunately, this won't be the first time this happens in this video. I'm sorry guys, I'm still learning. After I finished with the house crests, I decided to stick a Batman on there. After Batman, I used this Ninja Turtles fabric. I wanted so badly to put Mikey on there, but he was just too big to fit with everybody else, so I decided to give Donnie some love. And here's my finished fabric page. Probably the worst one in this video, but again, at least it's stuff that I like to look at. Alright, next page. Create a page of quotes. Fill this page with inspirational quotes. If you remember the last time I tried this, I ended up doing it all on the wrong page, so I needed a long break from it. I already knew what quote I wanted to do, so I went on to Pinterest and found some lettering that I liked. I know I've probably said it before, but I really enjoy lettering. Something about it, I'm not really sure. I just like doing it. The only issue is that I am extremely picky, so I can make this process a lot more slow and painful than it has to be. This one took me quite a while, not only because I'm just naturally slow, but also I use several different fonts for the lettering because, again, I'm very picky, and when it comes to lettering, if I have a vision, I need to meet it. I can't settle. Every time I write or repeat this quote, I always say sorrow instead of sadness, so eventually I went back and fixed that. Once I had the rough draft ready, it was time to add some color. With crayons, because I'm an adult. I went to neaten it up with pen, but then I realized the pen was dry, so then I had to switch to Sharpie, and I forgot how badly these pages bleed through because they're so thin, so that was fun. And then I just erased all of the pencil lines, and now it's time to add color. This next quote is from Back to the Future, Part 1, which is one of my all-time favorite movies in the whole world in the history of cinema. This one was much easier to write because I just stuck with one font for the entire thing, which made it a lot easier, and I was pretty proud of this because when I try to do this specific font, I forget the name of it. It doesn't come out that neatly, but I did good this time. This quote had me feeling pretty ambitious, so I decided to try and make a little sketch to go with it. But I'm sure I've made clear by now that I cannot draw for the life of me. My idea was to put the famous clock tower behind the quote getting struck by the lightning bolt. It didn't turn out that great. I mean, you can tell what it's supposed to be, but I just cannot draw. Once again, I'm just going over the letters and the finer details of the sketch with a Sharpie pen. As I'm sure you can tell, I drew this all by myself with no help because of how embarrassing it is, and this is my attempt at a lightning bolt. I'm not sure I've ever actually drawn lightning before. I usually just do the zigzags coming from the sky, so this is my first time coloring and outlining actual lightning. So maybe give me a break for that at least. After the disappointment of the lightning, I just went around and colored the rest of the clock tower. And this is what I was left with. I'm kind of bummed out. It did not turn out great, at all. If I had a bigger work surface and more time and possibly better utensils, it probably would have looked a lot better. My next quote is from an AWOL Nation song. I think they were trending a while back with their song Sail. And of course, when I discovered them, that wasn't even the first song I knew. So when people were like, the band that sings Sail, I still didn't exactly know who they were talking about. And then I realized it was them, so I'd be like, oh, AWOL Nation. I miss when alternative music was trending. Anyway, I am making an astronaut helmet, which is from the official lyric video for this song. In case anybody was wondering, the name of the song is Kill Your Heroes, and again, the band is AWOL Nation. You should definitely check out the song. I prefer the lyric video to the official music video. It just has more meaning in my opinion, and it's more entertaining. My paint markers were giving me a pretty hard time with this, or at least the white was. As you can see, it really messed up the lettering and kind of shredded the paper too. It didn't help that I had a pound of glue underneath. Here it is finished. Again, the white paint marker really ruined it, and I probably could have done a better job on the astronaut helmet. It's still a good quote though, and it's a really good song. Again, it's called Kill Your Heroes by AWOL Nation. You should definitely listen to it, especially if you're feeling down or just bummed out lately. It's a good pick-me-up song. At this point, I was out of ideas, so I went to my quote journal, which is exactly what it sounds like, a journal full of quotes, and I chose one. Then I went to Pinterest for a font, and now I'm just putting it in the last empty space on this page. Honestly, this is probably one of my favorite prompts so far, not only because I love lettering, but I also just really like inspirational quotes. Maybe it's cheesy for some people, but a lot of them really get through to me, and it's just a good feeling to find one that you can relate to or that inspires you. This one looked kind of plain compared to the rest of the quotes because they all had drawings or doodles with them, so I was going through Pinterest to try and find a nice doodle for this quote, and I went with a nature-themed border. It was very simplistic, but I think it looked good. I'd like to apologize for the close-up of my gross, dry, nasty-looking hands. I'm sorry about that. I'm not good at keeping my nails painted, and my skin is just very dry, so I'm sorry. Here it is finished. Looking back, I kind of wish I colored the border brown, but at the time I thought that might be a little too much, but no, I definitely should have colored it brown. For my last quote, I really wanted to go out with a bang, so I was going to do a drawing and use an entire page for it, so maybe if, like I said, I had a bigger workspace, it would look a little better. The quote I chose was "Throw me to the wolves and I'll return leading the pack," and I thought this would go really good with the movie Princess Mononoke, so I decided to draw San. Originally, I wanted to have the quote in almost 3D letters, like bold letters right over her, but then I was too proud of my drawing, so I decided to just put it underneath. I am using a reference picture because, again, if I don't have a reference, I am awful at drawing. But I will say this idea with the quote and everything was original, so at least I can give myself credit for that. I was very nervous about adding color to it because Studio Ghibli uses a very soft color palette, so I knew markers would be too much and crayons were probably too risky, so my boyfriend's son was nice enough to lend me his colored pencils. So I'm just going over the outline with brown. That was advice Kevin actually gave me, was to outline it with brown and not black. So I was just kind of treading lightly with all of the colors and stuff because I didn't want to destroy the drawing that I was so proud of. I didn't really bother with shading or highlights though because I'm not advanced enough with that, especially with colored pencils because those are probably the material I use the least. So I just kept it all very soft, very basic. And I have to say, this is probably one of the best things I have made in a long time. I guess it doesn't really count since, again, I used a reference picture and just made a carbon copy of that, but it's the first time I've actually sat down and drawn anything in a long time, and it felt pretty good. I used to be more ashamed of that when it came to drawing, that I couldn't just, pull an image out of my head and put it on paper, but I had so many art teachers that struggled with the same thing, so I don't feel quite as bad about it now. And another sudden lighting change. I am so sorry. Anyway, after the drawing was finished and colored in, I began the actual quote part of it all. I wanted the letters to be as big as I could possibly make them without making them look unnatural. I thought this font went really well with the Ghibli style drawing, so I used that. So here's my sad failed attempt at showing the final product. Obviously the quote got cut off and the cropping tool in my editing software sucks, so sorry about that. Now I just remembered the rule I had to put a sticker on each page, so I'm just doing that, and I found a sticker with an inspirational quote because I thought that was fitting to the theme. And here's a slightly better look at the entire finished pages. The last prompt for today is to create a list of fads. Write, illustrate, or place pictures of anything that is trending at the moment. So somehow I immediately had an idea of the first thing that was trending, and that was Crocs. Forgive my awful drawing skills, but hopefully you can tell what they're supposed to be. Just in case you couldn't, I even wrote Crocs underneath. Honestly, I had a lot of trouble figuring out what was popular. I had to turn to a lot of different social media platforms to find out, but I did know that Crocs were coming back in for whatever reason, and Disney has always been popular, so I figured that was still in as well. At one point, I even had to Google things that are popular in 2021, and that wasn't a whole lot of help. But every now and then, a random thing would pop into my head, or I'd log on to Facebook and see stuff. And then I remembered that true crime was trending, and I was going to draw a fingerprint, but then I thought it would be way more fun to just do my own fingerprint with an ink pad. Kinda bummed that the fingerprint didn't turn out better, but whatever. Another thing that I noticed has been popular lately is like magic and healing crystals and stuff. And honestly, I've always been into those kinds of things, but people used to think I was weird for liking them and now they're popular. Like, what the heck? Does that ever happen to you? You know, you like something and people think you're weird for liking it, then years later it's the coolest thing in the world and supposedly you're the poser because you just like it because everyone else does? I really hate people sometimes. But I've learned to just like what you like and don't even let what other people say or think bother you. And if it becomes popular and then they pretend to like it, they're really the ones suffering. Enough of the cheesy PSAs. Another thing that I saw was trending were peel off face masks, and these are so much fun. I love doing these. I wish I could do them more often. Please don't mind my awful drawing. Another thing that I've noticed is trending or popular right now, especially in the slime community, is boba. I personally have never tried it, but I hear that people either love it or hate it, so I should give it a try sometime. Tell me what flavors I should go for. Something else that's really big nowadays is face masks, obviously, and they're a big part of everyday life for people all over the world right now, so, I thought that would be important to include as well. Shout out to Kevin for the idea, and apologies for my awful drawing skills. So I started running out of ideas, and I still had a whole other page to fill, so I just decided to write memes in very big block letters because memes have been popular for like a decade now, probably longer actually. So yeah. So after asking around some more, one of my friends mentioned that vlogging is pretty popular right now, so I'm drawing a horrible video camera to represent vlogging. Next, I added a sticker of the Wi-Fi symbol because Wi-Fi is really important. And I also noticed, this is random, but the ukulele also is really popular, or at least it was like last year. So this one was kind of awkward to do, but I thought it was a little funny too. OnlyFans and how that's trending right now because so many people are out of jobs and stuff, so they're doing this to try and make money. I personally wouldn't do it, but to people who are brave enough to, good for you. Shout out to all the random girls that were mean to me in high school that are now asking me to subscribe to their OnlyFans, and yeah. I've also noticed that houseplants are pretty popular too, which I think is cool. So this should have gone near the face mask, but somehow it only just occurred to me, but hand sanitizer is also really big right now and very important too. Please excuse my awful letter placement and drawing skills again. The next three are more serious and things that I'm really happy are popular now, and I hope they stay popular for the rest of time. The first one is body positivity. I've seen a lot of marketing stuff where they include all different body types and things like that, and I really love that. The next thing is the fight for justice for people who have been mistreated, abused, or even worse for their skin color, race, or ethnicity. This is a huge issue, and I think that a lot of people need to wake up to it because it happens everywhere in places we wouldn't even imagine it to happen, and I think it's really great that people are standing up and fighting it. And the last thing is equality for the LGBTQ plus community. I know a lot of people don't see eye to eye on this, but I think it's very important that we all know that we're all human and we should all be treated fairly and equally. Here is the entire finished thing. Even though I am not great at drawing, for some reason I still kind of like this. It's kind of like a time capsule, I guess. It'll be cool to come back to it in a few years and see what's still popular and what's not anymore. I really like doing Create This Book, especially prompts like these, so I think I will probably be uploading more of these. My goal will, for now, be once a month. I'm gonna try and see how creative I can get with these because after I finished this, I was actually watching other people's flip throughs of Create This Book and I noticed that I'm limiting myself to hand drawing and I can do so much more than that. Anyway, that does it for this video. I'm really sorry about the hiatus. I have a charger for my battery, so hopefully it won't be happening again. I will hopefully see you next week. Bye!